in chapter 2. We are in chapter 2, and we're going to piggyback off of what we started talking about in chapter 1. Before we get into that, I want to make sure that we don't have any questions from yesterday. Everybody did really good with the participation, so thank you for that. Y'all rocked that out. I was so happy to see. Let's start with our SMART goals, though. Does anyone have any questions about setting those long-term SMART goals? No questions? Okay, good. Rock stars. I like it. Any questions about anything else before we get started? No? All right, all right. No news is good news. Let's go. All right. So yesterday we started talking about skill sets, right? And you guys took your personality test. Give me a thumbs up if you took that personality test. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully. Okay, very
Yes, I
good.
took it.
All right,
I
all
took
right,
it,
all
but I
right.
don't know how to do I don't know how to do the thumbs up.
Okay.
Sorry about
It's where the little smiley face is.
Thank you,
Morning,
Jet.
everybody.
Oh, okay. I see it now. Thank you.
See, it takes a village. It takes a village. We're in this together. Okay. So yesterday we started talking about skill sets, right? So there are some basic skills, I know this may come as a surprise, not that everyone wants you to have. I don't think you can go to any job where you can't read or write or speak and do basic math and basic technology, right? These are skills that you need to have. It might sound contrite, but yeah, some people actually can't do math, right? That's a real thing, right? And so, how much math is in your job? You'd be surprised, right? So these are skills that people do expect you to have. We talked yesterday about technology skills and how each of your fields are moving into that arena. And technology, I mean, it's designed to make us more efficient. That's what the people tell us, right? So we'll go with that. But they are expecting you to have some basic technology skills. And then we moved into hard skills. Can anybody remember what those hard skills are? Can somebody tell us really quick? Or give me an example of a hard skill in your program.
Welding.
Mm-hmm. And what would be? Give me a hard skill. One hard skill in the welding program.
One hard skill in the welding program.
Mm-hmm.
I will say because for me welding is, how can I explain it? It's just not. It's not an easy job, but it's hard because you have to be focused on it.
Well, so
And
remember, is anybody else in the welding program? Any thumb up? Can somebody help him out? Give me one technical skill, one hard skill. We also call it a technical skill. Maybe that'd be helpful.
Probably being able to not upgrade, but maintain your machine and like disassemble your torch gun and swap a MIG setup from being MIG to flux core.
That sound about right.
That's what I put down on mine. That's like really the only thing I could really think of.
And guess what? I wouldn't know anyway. So there you go. Nelson, you're right. Jet, does that sound about right, guys? So, or was it Jesus? Yeah, so that's a technical skill for welding. Now, let me ask, what about a soft skill? What about a soft skill? Anybody want to give me a soft skill for their program?
salesman,
What would you say?
like salesman, that's a soft
Oh,
skill.
being a good salesperson? Yeah, that
Yeah,
probably is, especially if you're working on the residential side, right?
it's indeed.
Or even if you're doing a commercial, if they have you out on job sites and you got to engage with the customer, the project person, yeah, you're probably going to need some ability to communicate for sure. Now, what about soft skills? Now, soft skills are a little bit more abstract, because we talked a little bit yesterday about communication and teamwork, and all of those are skills that are needed. I think we can all agree that we worked for someone in the past or worked with someone in the past that did not have good communication skills. Quick thumbs up if that has ever happened to you. You're working with someone that just, I don't know, if they don't communicate well for whatever reason it is. You know how painful that is, right? It's like you don't even care if they're really good at their job. Like, if you don't have good teamwork, good communication skills, that is annoying, right? I've had a boss before that just, I actually left a really good job at as an investment accountant. And you know why? Because I could not understand my boss. Like, I don't know what it is. He was just, every time, I was a new investment accountant for Bank of New York. And this guy, I don't know if he did it on purpose, but every time he was supposed to train me, he would literally just throw the book at me, like literally throw me the book and be like, if you have any questions, let me know. And he also would like not answer the question that I was asking, but like speak in generals, he would overgeneralize the question, the answer to my question. And so I was like, is this a test? What is this? And I ended up leaving the company. Like, I went to the HR department and I was like, I don't think this guy wants me to succeed. Like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And I was young and dumb. I should have stayed. I'm gonna tell you that right now, but you don't know any better when you're young. And he literally ran me out of there because I just could not understand him. And I was on his team and I was too scared to fail. Hindsight's 2020. I wish I would have stayed, but it happens, right? But communication is a big deal, right? Knowing how to communicate well. And so there are these categories of soft skills that we don't necessarily think about, but we all want people to have. We want you to have good thinking skills. That's the ability to think critically. Every company wants you to be able to problem solve, even if they don't say, are you a good problem solver? Like, most companies do not want you, especially supervisors, they don't want you to just bring them problems all the time. Who likes that? Even if you have, if you're not in charge of someone and maybe you have a family, you're in charge of your family, who wants, their family members to bring them problems all the time? Anybody are the problem solvers of their family? Isn't that annoying? Like, sometimes you want someone to tell you a problem and to tell you what they did to fix it, right? Give me a break, right? Tell me your problem. That's great. And then give me some options at least to choose from, like door number one, door number two. I was thinking about fixing it this way or that way. Which do you suggest? Like, if you really want to win over the hearts of your supervisor and your job and maybe even get a promotion, when you come with problems, always come with possible solutions. Hey, boss, I noticed this was happening. I was thinking we can do this or that to fix it. What do you suggest? They love that. Not, hey, there's a big problem, come see. It's like, that's like toddler behavior. Like, nobody wants you to do that. So they want you to always think critically. So you may see a lot of problem solving skills required in job descriptions. Like I stated before, they want you to have people skills. Every job requires you to engage with people. Like, there is no job. I can't think of one. Trust me, I tried to find them. Being the introvert that I am, I looked around, I couldn't find a job where just no people that I have to engage with. So you got to have to engage with people and have personal qualities that people can deal with. Now, in addition to you having these skills, right? People also want you to be able to follow workplace ethics. Workplace ethics is a big thing because every company has a different set of ethics. These are what they consider the principles and the beliefs that direct their workplace behavior. Like, you have your own set of ethics, but every company has their own set of workplace ethics. Some of them call them codes of conducts, codes of ethics. Make sure you know the difference between the two because I do think they're on your midterm. So, what is a code of conduct? It is a document that dictates how employees behave, a code of ethics is a document that dictates how the business should be conducted. That means that, we don't, you know, if you're an electrical company, we don't, I don't know, leave wiring out and exposed. We don't, we make sure that we do two safety quality checks. Like these are the things that you do because this is, the company's, reputation, and this is what they want to make sure, that everybody is adhering to. Obviously, your code of conduct has to do with how you individually behave. Now, there are unethical and illegal behavior that people can engage in. And let me just really, really state this. You need to know the difference between the two, because one can get you fired, but one can get you in jail or in court. And companies can't always save you from illegal behavior, right? Because illegal behavior is against the law. That means the government. Unethical just means you broke some code from the company. So two examples are discrimination and harassment. We all know by now that, you cannot go to somebody's job and do any type of discrimination and harassment. Even though, yes, I know we can say, well, what if the company does it? Well, nobody's supposed to do it, not the supervisors, the managers, or you as employees, because people can take you to court for it. People can file a suit, and the company can be out money. It's not that they don't want you to do it because they love everybody so much. They just love their money. So they don't want you to commit those offenses. So it's important that you know what the law states and what is considered illegal versus what is considered unethical, right? So trust me, they'll talk about it, especially if you guys are going to be engaging with the public. Anytime you engage with the public, if you do residential work, for sure, definitely on the VA side, you're going to have a lot of training on what not to do and what can get you in trouble, right? um, Chapter 2 also talks about this other skill set, but I want to talk about it in terms of your career plan building. Yes, jobs want you to have good, what we call digital citizenship. What does that mean? That would means they have the responsible use of technology and their internet. Some of that, those elements include protecting your personal information, respecting others, being aware of online safety and security. So let me talk about it first from what the company wants, and then let me talk to you about your career plan. So yes, obviously the company wants you to have good um, digital citizenship. How many of you have children? Give me a thumbs up. Any kids? Nobody? All right, well, this still should apply. So let's pretend that some of you had kids, right? And your child was in the 3rd grade or maybe the 4th grade, and you find out that their social studies teacher has a fan page. Would you have a problem with that? Give me a thumbs up if you would have a problem with that. Miss Thomas has a Miss Thomas has a fan page that your child stumbled upon. Would you have an issue with that? One person would have an issue. All y'all need to go to church. Okay, 2 people have an issue. Right? Most
There's
people
two.
would
There's two.
just
There's two people.
look at
I
now,
put my thumbs
now they
up.
want to jump in on it. Look at it. Now they want to jump in on it. Most of them saying, what's the
Nah.
URL? What's the URL? What's the URL? No, most people would have an issue with that. Not because you're judging, right? Not because you're judging, but because maybe you're just concerned, right? And I'm telling you right now, her school probably would have an issue with that.
Yeah.
This is straight from the headlines. This actually happened. That's why I brought it up, right? In the I think that the teacher did lose her job, and she took him to court too. So there you go. But that's a thing, right? Why is that? Why would a company care about that? I know some of us are saying that that's her business, Others are saying, well, I kind of understand it. You don't want, you know, the students, how children are, running around saying, "Oh, uh, uh, Southside Junior High's teachers make their money another way." You don't want that to become a thing for Southside Junior High, right? So you can kind of get why the company would be concerned about that. The same way you can understand how when people do crazy stuff and then people post about it and find out where they work, and then they tell the company's like, you're not about to bring that drama onto me, because we're in the business of making money, not making headlines, right? And so you guys can appreciate that. Well, by that same token, you want to make sure that you have good digital footprint, and you need to be concerned about what you are placing on the internet. Now, you may not have a fan page, but you may be the type of person, we used to call them Twitter fingers, that likes to post a lot of commentary online. Why is that important for you to be concerned about? There are companies that will do a search on you, right? I know sometimes you're like, really? Yeah, trust me, I've worked for some really crazy companies that, they are overzealous about making sure they hire, quote unquote, the right people. And they would try to see, what's your personality? Do you have anything that would, be of concern to them? Now, I personally don't agree with all that. I'm like, if you got to dig that deep, just don't hire the person. But
Did
people
you tweet
do it.
something 10 years ago that we won't like?
I know it's ridiculous, right? I think it's intrusive. Trust me, I do.
Agreed.
But I've seen a CEO do it. I've seen a CEO fire someone because she got a Google alert that, because sometimes CEOs put Google alerts on the company name. And if you post your resume somewhere, sometimes it'll shoot a Google alert. And she saw that one of the people were looking for another job, and she had the audacity to want to fire the person. I thought, okay, lady, you are crazy, like the cray and the Z.
Retaliation.
It is retaliation. That's a good point. It is retaliation. And so I just thought that was weird. I had another CEO that, and we'll talk about this when we talk about LinkedIn. He wanted, I mean, I'm sorry, uh, yeah, LinkedIn. What am I talking about? He wanted to link with everybody. Like he wanted to see what you're doing on LinkedIn and wanted to force you to promote the company. I thought that was really weird. I was like, you guys are really, that's too much. That's too intrusive for me, but people do it. I know HR people that will Google you, and if something pops up crazy that you've posted, like they'll factor that into whether they want to hire you or not. So we always teach people, listen, if you have postings out there, and once we get into, your social media accounts, we try to tell people, the way to clean that up is to create another professional account, because a lot of times when people do searches on you, the most recent posts come up. And so start posting just positive, professional related stuff. And we'll get more into that when we talk about online. But just know that whatever you post is called a digital footprint. It can follow you. So, yes, I know sometimes that's an outlet for people, but you're a professional now, right? So, let me push back and give you the school of hard knocks. They say more money, more problems. Well, part of the problem of being a professional is that people expect you to be a professional. Like the things you used to do, you can't do anymore, unfortunately. Um, Chapter 2 also talks about cloud computing, which is just this internet-based computing that allows users to access and share resources like servers and storage, basically posting stuff online. So companies will, you guys all, Microsoft Teams, right, is a cloud-based system. Google is a cloud-based system, like a Google Meet, Google Docs, all that's cloud-based. So you just knowing what that is, because a lot of companies use that for security purposes, instead of a company having, you know, an IT department with an IT servers, and you guys ever seen those big storage server rooms, now they can just save everything in the cloud and pay for that service. And so you may work for a company that uses a lot of cloud-based software, and so you may just have to know what that means. So now you at least know what that means if you didn't know already. Chapter 2 talks just a little bit about that. And then it also goes into what's unethical and illegal for employees to download in software. Um, I'm trying to think, most of you probably won't have to deal with that, but there could be some stuff, like contracts, like if you guys are dealing with projects and the company has some projects and maybe the details of that is in the cloud, and they're like, oh, don't download this because of proprietary, whatever, whatever. You guys will get into that. It all really depends on the type of company that you work for. VA, you guys will probably have, some medical information, and even animals have rights. And a lot of the owner's information will be on it. So y'all may have to deal with it a little bit more than some of the others here. But you'll learn about that. The same thing with intellectual property. Again, chapter 2 is just talking about this type of stuff and what, the company will let you know what is IP, that's their personal stuff and what they don't want you to share and all that kind of stuff. So it just talks about what IP is from, property of copyright property and how it can be infringed upon, how it can't be plagiarized, and also how you are to share any type of intellectual property if you are asked to do anything socially. And then we'll get into netiquette here. Netiquette is just basically being careful how you engage online. Once again, I hate to say it, I know you guys are all thinking we're in trades, we don't have to deal with this stuff. Yes, you are going to have to deal with this stuff, especially if you get to the supervisor level. If you're running your own business, you are going to have to be online. They say not being online is like not having credit. People think, oh, I don't have any credit. Well, that's not a good thing because America is a credit based system. So having no credit is like having bad credit. If someone cannot look you up and find out things about you in this credit based capital society, they don't trust you. And unfortunately, now companies expect you to be online, if at a minimum, LinkedIn, because that's one of the ways they check your portfolio. Like I said before, this idea of carrying a portfolio around. I don't know if I told this class, but back in the day, we used to carry a portfolio around with your resume and the things you've done in the past and your personal references and comments that they made, like a whole actual portfolio. Well, that is what LinkedIn is. And so companies expect you to have it because they're not just going to look at your resume. They want to be able to look you up online and maybe see what you look like and see what you've posted. And yeah, and it's like snooping, right? Yeah, they do that. Will all companies do it? No, but you never know what company that you are applying for that does do it. And sometimes they can use it. I'm not going to call it a bias, but if they have 5 candidates and they all have online profiles and you don't, like, why would you even put yourself in that position, right? Because, being a reasonable thinking person, they're going to be like, okay, well, I found out more about Susie and Tom and Joe. I don't know anything about Sarah, you know, and if everything else is the same, like, you're just really shooting yourself in the foot. So, I tell everybody, just get that online profile, so companies will have a way to look you up if they need to. And you got to be careful with what you put on the internet. We're going to talk a little bit about different social platforms. But again, if you're the Twitter fingers type of person, if you're like the commentary type person, maybe you're really into politics and things of that nature, just please taper that down. Definitely don't have a pseudo name or something, but taper that down a bit. Like, you just don't want that type of politics out there, because companies business they do business with everybody. Put yourself in the company's shoes, right? If you sold a product or a service, you sell to everybody. You don't want anybody in your customer base having a problem. So they don't want that type of drama hitting their pocketbook. And that's what it really is about. They can probably share your views, but they just don't want the drama. So that's why they do that. So it's not because they're trying to monitor you or anything like that. It's business, right? A lot of you will have certifications as well. And chapter 2 will talk a little bit about that, but we'll dig into that when we talk about, your LinkedIn accounts exactly. All right. All right, my friends. If we do not have any questions on that, we're going to keep this up throughout the week. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and post your participation assignment. Don't jump off, because I also want to talk about your other 2 assignments before we leave. So Your participation assignment says, I want you to name one quality that sets you above the competition and one quality you would improve on. One quality that sets you above the competition and one quality that you would improve upon. I'm setting you up, no pun intended, to prepare you to start thinking about promoting yourself. And we're going to be using this information in a couple of other sessions. So right now, I want you to start to think about, okay, if I had to promote myself, um, what quality does set me above the rest? Maybe you have a different skill set. Maybe you say, oh, well, I was in construction before, so I know how to work in construction. So me working in the electrical field is going to be a plus because I could go work for a company and be able to, have these transferable skills. Others may say, well, I speak 4 languages, and so I have the ability to travel and do some work in other countries. Whatever you think sets you apart, and then something you think you could improve upon, right? Any questions on that? I'm gonna put this back up in a minute, but let me talk really quickly about your assignment. So what do you have today? So today you are going to do a dream job search, and let me explain to you what this is. So part of your setting your career goals, like we asked you to set 2 long-term goals, right? Hopefully, and we asked you to do that yesterday. Did I? Right? I can't remember my own assignments. That was yesterday, right? Or no? But anyway, if it wasn't yesterday, you're going to set 2 long-term goals. We want you to be able to start talking to people about your goals, right? So even if you haven't turned it in yet, it's either yesterday or tomorrow. We want you, and let me see some. No, okay, so it's and in order to get you started, we want you to find one person in your career field. It doesn't have to specifically be electrical. It could be in construction, in your field. Hopefully it's some type of electrical, but or at least in your industry. I don't care if it's your current instructor, the last instructor you left, maybe it's another instructor you had on your campus. It could be a family member that's in your industry, maybe it's a neighbor, somebody in your industry. And we want you to go and pick their brains. It's very informal. You can call them on the phone. You can, this is not something, formal. And tell them what your long-term goal is and get their advice. Now, today, you're just going to give me the name of the person that you're going to talk to. Even if this person, you may end up switching it, but for today, just put a name down. I'm going to talk to Mrs. Jones, my next door neighbor who is in the veterinary field. I'm going to talk to Instructor Thomas. He's my favorite instructor in the welding department. That's it. That's all I need is a name. Between now and next week, I want you to have spoken to this person because then you're going to come back next week and do a debrief on how that conversation went. And the purpose is to tell them what your long-term goal is, or if you have 2, tell them and get their feedback. Get their feedback. Does anybody have any questions on what this assignment is about? All right. Now, big thing. Your resume, you're going to have to turn in a resume to me next Thursday. Don't freak out if you don't have a resume because Career Services is going to help to draft a resume for you. You must sign up with Career Services, and I say do it now. There are hundreds of students taking this class. You guys have the benefit of taking the morning session, even though you're not the only class in the morning session. Set up that appointment as soon as you get off for them to look at your resume. If you already have a resume, they may simply say, just email me your resume and they'll look at it and, and get it back to you. But they have to sign off on the resume before you turn it in next week. Please do not turn in a resume to me saying, "This is my resume." That is not the point of this assignment. The point of this assignment is one, your first conversation with career services if you haven't had one already. Number two, they need a copy of your resume on file so they can promote you to employers. And so, number three, they need to see it to make sure that your resume is saying what it needs to say. And once we talk about resumes, you'll understand it better. So if you have the skills that a company is looking for, they can promote you. So they need the resume. So this assignment is to get you introduced to career services. So they need that resume. If you don't have one, fine. Then during that time, you guys will set it up. Now, just because you're setting up a meeting doesn't mean that you're going to have to physically go talk to them. Every campus is different. Some of y'all are already on campus. So it's not a big deal to walk down the hallway and have a meeting with them. Others, they may just want to meet over the phone, but whatever it is, you need to get into their scheduling system. So in this assignment, you just click on your campus, schedule that appointment, and then career services will call you. All right. Get that done immediately so no one else steals your time slot. Um, what you're going to turn in today is your appointment time with career services. Don't turn in your resume every class that someone gives me their resume. That is not what this assignment is today. You are giving me the appointment that you have done it. Yes? Do we understand?
What if what if you've already gotten your resume signed and everything?
Um, how would you have it signed already?
Like I already made an appointment a little while ago before I went to career services, and I already got everything done for that.
So, I don't, because this is the only class where they sign your resume. So I don't. Why would they have signed it before? But
Like the
whatever it
first
is,
day
if you have it, because I know people are aware of this course, that's fine. So you still need to um, set a time, right, with them,
Mhm.
and it could be simple. Set a time with them and give me the time. You can call them and tell them what you just said and let them know who did it. I don't know how many career services people are at your campus, and have them just put a date that it was signed, and then you'll turn that in next Thursday. So if you've already done it, I'm not going to force you to do it again, but you need to at least set an appointment to talk to them to let them know that you're turning that in to me as a signed resume. Here's why you want to make sure this process happens. Let's say, and I hope it doesn't happen, um, your resume was done by somebody else, or they claim they never saw this resume, or they don't have that resume that you speak of on file, and a job opportunity comes up and they give it to, let's say, a classmate of yours, and they'll be like, "Well, I've never seen your resume." And I'm like, "Well, this is the one he turned into me." Or she turned into me, or they turned into me, right? Like, you don't want that drama. You want to make sure the
No.
one you have is the one they have, right? Because that's the
Alright.
whole point, right? It's not just so you have the resume. Like, part of their job is to help you find a job, right? So you want to make sure they have your resume too. So even if it's just a matter of setting this appointment to say, "Hey, y'all have this resume," right? Like, I don't know how long ago you did it, but make sure that they have the resume that you have.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So you probably won't have to go through the whole, thing. Set the appointment, have that quick conversation, and if they're good to go with your resume, just hold on to it and you'll turn it in next Thursday. Sounds
Alright,
good?
we'll do.
All
Yeah.
right. Thank you. All right. Any other questions? That's a great question. Any other questions? All right, my friends, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. If there